So you want to help your company be more agile. You create all of these extraordinary processes and guides, and then you go to your next project and find that none of it works. Well, how can this be? That's this week on the Badass Agile podcast. Greetings, team. Welcome to the Badass Agile podcast. I'm your host, Chris Williams. My friends, welcome back. Thank you for joining once again. Today I want to talk about impediments to flow, rigidity versus agility. But first, let's take a moment to remember why we're here. To create an elite tribe of leaders who truly serve their clients and communities by doing what matters and what works, relentlessly chasing value and excellence like a badass. There's so many resources out there about what you need to do to be agile, but we're focused on who you need to become in order to lead teams. So let's hammer down those fundamentals to create a truly unique and powerful force in this industry. And remember, if you love this episode, please tell your friends. You can also join the conversation in the Badass Agile Listener Lounge on Facebook. When we talk about impediments to flow, we rarely talk about the notion of rigidity. The only time in life when things are rigid is pretty much when they're dead. That's when they become stiff, brittle, and breakable. But in life, we're supple, flexible, and fluid. And isn't that also what the word agility implies? So how does rigidity impede flow? Well, there's a temptation to believe that firm processes create an opportunity to move faster. In a way, that's true. But I think there's a minor distinction that we often miss when we overthink all of this stuff. Routines are great because they encourage discipline. Disciplined work can be a fundamental part of the flow. Having things like well-ingrained habits and routines also help us with flow. But the problem is, none of these things are helpful when we're working on problems that have never been solved before, when we're building things that are truly new, that have never been built before. Those situations require creativity, and we bump into real trouble when our processes are so rigid that they impede that creativity and ultimate flexibility. See, when we only permit ourselves to think in a small number of ways, being rigid isn't really about habits and discipline anymore. It becomes more about stubbornness and narrow vision. This is how we find the way we've always done things. We're so comfortable with our procedures that we dare not deviate from them. In fact, I would say we're afraid to. So what happens? Well, think of a piano player, or think about typing at your keyboard for that matter. If you want to be fluid, graceful, and fast, then your hands can't be stiff and tight. Try it yourself, you'll see. Clench your fist really, really hard. Tighten your fingers. And then with that same tension in your hands, that same feeling, go and type something on your keyboard. How well does that work? It doesn't serve you. Your hands need to be relaxed, accepting, confident, and free. Think of a tree. What makes a tree strong is that big network of powerful and wide-reaching roots that are underneath the ground that you can't even see. But above the earth, imagine if the trunk, the branches, the stems, and the leaves were all made of rigid plastic. The first time the wind blows too hard, the plastic would snap. The limbs would break off entirely. What ensures a tree's ongoing survival is the fact that all of those parts are fluid and bendable, so that when a massive environmental change comes, a powerful gale, it doesn't break. It simply bends and submits. And when the storm has passed, it releases, goes back to neutral. If you think about it, it's its flexibility that accounts for its actual strength, its durability, its survival. Rigidity also prohibits the free flow of new ideas. When we're stiff and clinging to certainty, clinging to tradition, clinging to process, it's going to be nearly impossible for new expressions, new attachments, and new connections to grow. When we're rigid, we're going to resist change. We can't see how a different way could work, especially if it's radically different from everything we think we know. So let me ask you, how could we be less rigid, more fluid, more nimble, more alive this week with our teams? What rigid processes could we let go of and simply trust that when the big wind comes blowing, we're going to be able to move and sway and balance with it? And the only thing we'll lose are the dead, brittle leaves that no longer serve us. How do we do this? How do we become more flexible, more nimble, and let go of our rigidity? Ask lots of questions, first of all. Question your thought processes. Anytime someone asks the question, how or why, think about your answer. Is that answer rooted in history, your beliefs about what will work or what should work? Or instead, do we refuse to answer that question with a prepared process, but rather with a new exploration, a new idea, a new test, so that we can discover not what worked before, but what works best? The next thing you can do that's so important is be a learning organism. Talk to other people, share experiences, document what you hear, what you learn. Write down things that surprise you. Write down the things that inspire you. Keep meticulous notes so that you can go back from time to time and explore the riches of not only your experience, but the experience of others, because you never know when it will inspire the perfect solution to a perplexing problem. And finally, get out in nature more often. Why not? Look around you and see how all the different elements that surround us each and every day are able to survive, thrive, adapt, and change for the benefit of the entire ecosystem. Trust me, you'll see what true agility actually looks like. My friends, I hope you enjoyed this one. As always, you can reach out at badassagile.com, find me on Twitter at badass_agile, and on Instagram at badassagile. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen so that you never miss an episode, never miss an update. And don't forget to check out theagilehorizon.com for our online news magazine. And if you believe that I can help your organization, don't forget to check out The Forge and the newly released Forge Professional. I look forward to seeing you next time, and until then, stay badass.